Hey, it's Dr. DeCubellis here. I wanted to share a story about a patient that I had. And the reason I want to share this is because it's really important to remember why you should always keep track of what you're feeling, when you're feeling it, and how you're feeling. So we had a patient come in. Mom brought him in. He was a 5-year-old boy. He was dealing with quite a bit of different issues. And one of the things that the mom had noticed he had been doing is he had OCD, and his OCD was getting to the point to where it was becoming really detrimental just to their schedule and to just their overall life, but also his safety. So one thing that he was doing is he would create a matchbox car track, and this had to go throughout the whole entire house. At first, it was really just a time suck. He had to do this 3 to 4 times, the whole track with the car before they could leave the house every day. But then when the path expanded and went into the kitchen, it went right by the oven. So now it became an issue to where they had to make sure that they watched him at all times, because if he was by the oven and they were cooking something, or it just became an issue with safety now. So we were dealing with all these other issues, but this was one of the things that she kept mentioning was the most disruptive and the biggest issue that she wanted to try to get him to work on. So I said, okay. So we progressed, started doing some treatment. After 2 weeks, I sat down with the mom and I said, I wanted to see from your experience what you're noticing change-wise, good or bad, with him. And I told her what I had went over, and I said, it's really important that I know from your aspect and your end what you're seeing too. So she said, well, I'm really not noticing a huge change with him. We're still having all these different issues. He's still not sleeping very well. And he's also complaining of some neck issues and pointing to his neck. So there's lots of things that was going on. I said, okay, and we started to break some things down. And I asked, well, how is he doing with his energy levels? And she said, well, those have actually increased. I said, okay, well, that's good. And I said, well, how often is he complaining of the neck pain? Said, well, he still complains of about every day, but it's not 3 to 4 times a day like it was before. I said, okay, well, that's good. That means we're making progress there. And I said, the other thing I was wondering about, what happened with the Matchbox cars? How's that going? And she just looked at me with a blank stare on her face and said, what are you talking about? I said, well, the Matchbox cars, when we first came in, that was one of the things you had noticed that he started doing within the last couple of months, and it was becoming to where it was just taking so much of your time, and it was becoming a safety concern as well for him because of where the car was going in the path. So you said that was one thing you were hoping that we could see a change in him as we're working on other aspects too. I said, so how is he with the Matchbox cars? And she just stared at me and was like, I can't believe it. She's like, I totally forgot. He hasn't done that in a week. Now, he was doing this every day. Could not leave the house without going with his Matchbox cars up and down that track. She had completely forgotten about it because there were all these other issues that were being dealt with as well and other things. But this is why it's so important to make sure you write things down. If I would not have brought this up, she would not have even noticed that it wasn't happening anymore because there's other things going on. We wouldn't have acknowledged the positive behavior that the child was making. And this was a huge breakthrough because, remember, this was the #1 issue they complained of really being the annoyance when she brought him in. So always write things down. Make sure you keep track. We want to compare apples to apples. You're not going to remember what you felt at 3 p.m. 4 Thursdays from now. You're just not going to remember. So make sure you write it down. You want to make sure you're giving your doctor the most accurate information, because if a change needs to be done or a referral needs to be made, we want to make sure we have the most accurate information to make sure that we do that properly.